Hello, beautiful people. My name is Sean.
I'm Charlotte.
I'm Sarah.
And today we're going to be talking specifically about bisexuality. We got a question by I'm MeJax saying, can you make a video on your opinion on bisexuality? And that has another question under that, but we'll talk about that in a separate video log. And this one is very vague. So instead, I have Charlotte and Sarah, my two longtime friends and roommates, and Sarah is bisexual.
The resident bisexual,
Right.
board certified, very official.
Yeah, she's been licensed for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, obviously, our opinion is positive.
I just love the opinion. What's your opinion?
So instead, we made a list of all the things that people say against bisexuality. So we're going to go through that and discuss them. So the first one, big ticket item, is bisexuality is transphobic.
Well, first off, it's not. Just getting that out there. I feel like they don't mean transphobic. They mean it means that there are only two genders exist because, if you're bisexual, unless you're an asshole, you don't care if the person's a trans guy or a cis guy or a trans woman or a cis woman. Mm-hmm. So when people try to attack bisexuals for being you're saying there's only two genders, it's not at all what anyone is trying to say. It's just become so flexible now with now that more genders are being more commonly recognized, and at this point bisexuality just means that you like more than one gender, and some people say, oh, well, isn't that just pansexuality? And the truth is the two are very close and there's a lot of overlap. And some people when you identify as bi or pan, the rules aren't really rules, but the terms and conditions are pretty similar, and at some point it just kind of boils down to which one you're more comfortable identifying as. I prefer bi because that's the label I found when I was very young and confused, and it was comforting to me, and so that's just how I feel. But also being bisexual doesn't just mean that you like men and women. It could be you like men and non-binary people, or something like that. So it can mean you like only two genders, but it doesn't necessarily mean those two genders have to be
the
men and women.
That society deems the only two genders. But that also means that bisexuality isn't, or what I assume isn't, saying that you only like cis men and women.
Right.
It can mean no one says specifically. There's no definition that says cis men, cis women.
Yeah.
And I think the decision of whether or not you want to date someone who is trans or would date someone who's trans, that goes across all sexualities, I feel, not just bisexuals. I identify as straight, but I would still date someone who's trans, obviously.
Right.
I would still date a trans man because that man is still a man.
Right.
And I feel like being bisexual applies to the same thing. You're bisexual, you would date a trans woman or a trans man if that was someone that piqued your interest and that you wanted to date. It's not really about the fact that they're trans or your sexuality, because those are two separate things. And
similar to how pans always get this kind of discourse is that just because you have that liking towards them doesn't mean you're going to date every single person that fits into that category.
Exactly.
Charlotte can date a trans man, but that doesn't mean that every trans man is someone that Charlotte wants to date. So
I don't know, most of them are pretty attractive. Let's not make any assumptions. Trans men are beautiful. So the next question another stereotype about people who are bisexual is that if you are bisexual, you have to like threesomes, or you have been in a threesome in the past.
Sarah's very disparate.
Yeah, that's a very common comment that I get. And it's really rude and gross to just when you meet someone and they tell you they're bisexual, be like, oh, you like threesomes? I don't know you like that. And it's just why is it the first thing that jumps into your mind? It's just first of all, it's none of your business. Second of all, it's not really true that bisexuals like threesomes more than any other sexuality, because people just like what they like, and if you like threesomes, you like threesomes. That does not hinge on whether or not you're bisexual. Straight guys love threesomes. Let me tell you, they're the ones who always ask. Straight guys love threesomes, and people think that bisexuals especially like them because they're greedy and horny all the time because they want to have sex with everybody, and that's just not true. It's really frustrating because I get that question a lot.
And you get it from people that, like, you barely know to people that you date. It's like anyone is gonna ask.
And it's just, it's so frustrating. I remember when I started dating my high school boyfriend, he was like, oh, you know what the best thing about dating a bi girl is? I was like, oh god, he's gonna say threesomes, I'm gonna have to end it right now. And he was like, it means you beat out twice the competition. And I was like, okay, that's kind of sweet. And I'm very surprised you did not say threesomes, because that's like the only thing people say after that usually. It's like, oh, you're bi, threesome, like, it's disgusting. I mean, threesomes aren't gross, but like for you to assume that I like them is like, you're gross.
Speaking of in that area. The third item on our list is attraction is 50-50. So, like, in terms of, men and women, it would be 50 women, 50 men.
Right.
50.
And that's, for some people that is true. For a lot more, it's not, you don't really have any sort of control over the people you like. Like, I for sure have, like, a male preference. But part of that is because, I'm a woman, so it's, like, easier and more common for me to find a man who is attracted to women, like, more than it is for me to find a woman who is attracted to women. Also, my downfall is I like straight girls. Oh, God, it's a nightmare. But, yeah, so the attraction doesn't have to be split equal. Like, you have no control over that. It just depends on, like, who you meet and, what it is. And it's just, the whole 50-50 thing is just so inaccurate. And
also, like, I feel like meeting enough people or having enough, like, experiences in your lifetime it'd be hard to actually say for sure if you like men and women equally, because I feel like unless you have, like, hundreds of partners, it would be hard to make up percentages.
Right.
So, yeah. So the next one our fourth one is you need to date multiple genders to know that you're bi. So you have to basically experiment with genders to know your sexuality.
Do you have to have dated someone of the opposite gender to know you're straight? No, you don't. Like, you don't need any sort of certain experience to qualify to be bisexual. Like, there's no requirements for entry to the club,
And you've known for a long time, even before, like, you dated anyone. Like, you've known.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And, like, you don't have to date anyone. Like, I was very young when I figured it out. Like, I had my first crush on a boy in, like, kindergarten. But then in, like, third grade, I realized that I had a crush on a girl.
Oh, no.
And, it was very scary. But, I didn't have to have dated any of those people I had those feelings for to know that, I liked them and I had feelings for them and wanted to be with them. Like, it's just... The argument makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't see the logic behind that question at all. Like...
Yeah, because, you'd never ask a straight person that.
Right.
I think, honestly, a lot of it stems from... internalized homophobia in terms of bisexual men specifically. And I only say that, not from personal experience, but I've heard a lot of bisexual men not realizing they were bi until they, like, had sex with a different man, or, like, mainly because they weren't allowed to, I guess, feel those feelings as well as a lot of women can, just because of societal pressures on men to be quote-unquote manly and pick a side.
Pick a side.
I feel like I feel like there's a lot of more, like, pressure for men who are bisexual a lot of times, and so I think that might be where the question stems from for a lot of people for some reason.
Yeah, bi guys definitely get a lot of shit, because, like, I mean, everyone who's bi does, but, like, because, bi guys are seen as, like, oh, they're gay, they're feminine, they're whatever, so there's, like, not allowed to have feelings, and it's really shitty. But...
For number 5, this one particularly intrigues me, because I didn't really think about it until, like, the past year or so, but that biphobia isn't real / you have it easier than people who are gay. And I thought, like, that last part is really interesting, just because, or if you want to explain why they think that way, why it's easier.
Yeah, so the biphobia isn't real part. It is real, believe me. So the thing about biphobia is, like, people want you to either be gay or straight, and so they don't recognize that your sexuality is more complex than that, and, like, you have attraction to multiple genders, and it's really hurtful to have someone who, you know, is not bisexual and has no idea what, like, your feelings are, just be like, oh, well, you're not real, essentially. And, it's like, you don't know. Like, fuck, screw you don't know. Sorry.
You're good.
So yeah, people who aren't bi, you know, they just say that, you know, it's not real, or you have it easier, the other part of this question. And to say that, like, a bisexual person has it easier than someone who's gay, it's not accurate. You know, of course you can, like, you know, I'm a woman, so I could date a man and then, like, pass as straight if I wanted to. And then I would, like, not, you know, get the same kind of hatred or, like, looks and all that I would get as if I were dating a woman. But, you know, that's not necessarily, like, something that doesn't still affect me. Like, when I'm in a relationship with a man, like, I still am bisexual, and I still am impacted by the things people say about bisexual people, and even if, like, that's not visible to people who don't know me, that's still a part of my life, and, like, I still, like, have those feelings and am hurt by those things. But then, like, when I go into queer spaces, like, let's say if I right now had a boyfriend and I, like, went to a queer event and I wanted to bring him, people would say, oh, well, you're, like, straight or straight passing, and, like, this isn't really for you, because, like, you don't get the same kind of hatred, you know, that we all do right now. And that's really hurtful. Like, you know, I get that, like, it's less visible for me, and I can hide it if I want to, like I said, but I don't want to hide it, and, like, I still want to just be bisexual, and I'm still, like, in the queer community, and to, like, be excluded like that really hurts, and I feel like gay people should know better than to do that. So, like, it almost, like, it doesn't make sense to me when other queer people, like, hate on bisexuals like that.
Yeah, I also related to, like, straight passing and bisexuals and stuff like that. I've heard before, and I think it's complete crap, but, you know, obviously I want to hear your opinion. People say that people who are bisexual can't use gay slurs, you know, because gay people, you know, can use the F slur or the D slur, but bisexuals aren't allowed to use it because they aren't quote-unquote fully gay and can't use those slurs.
I don't agree with that. I think we can, because, you know, like, and of course if you don't want to, like, that's, like, your own personal choice, but, like, you know, I've been called the F slur, the D slur, all those things, and, like, those things still pretty much apply to me because I'm queer, like, I'm not straight, so, like, yeah, I get to say those things if I want to. I, you know, largely choose not to, but, like, if I did say them, you couldn't, I mean, of course, if I was, like, using them in a derogatory way towards someone, like, if I called someone the F slur, like, yeah, that's not good. But if, like, I can, like, joke and, like, call myself the D slur, because, you know, that's like, I'm included in that.
To you to reclaim it if you want to.
Yeah.
If gay people can do it, of course bi people can do it. It's how I see it.
Yeah.
And then it's frustrating to me that you mentioned, like, the queer community, and that this specific point about not only biphobia isn't real, but that you have it easier, that it comes from mainly the queer community putting against, like, it's so frustrating because there are so many people that are biphobic who are queer themselves.
Yeah.
Why are we gonna be like that?
Yeah, like, I thought we were supposed to be in this together, like, LGBTQIAPXYZ, you know?
We are in the lineup. So the last one is, you'll be gay or straight when you're older, and / you'll pick a side eventually.
So I've gotten this one a few times, and I think it's funny because, but both the times I really remember getting it is, like, from friends' parents. And the first time I got it was my friend's parent said, oh, you'll be gay when you're older. You'll, like, have a wife and everything. And I was like, you don't know that? And then years later, a different friend's mom said, oh, you'll just be straight when you're older. Like, you'll marry a man and, like, be straight. And I was like, well, which is it, ladies?
And it's bad because that feels into the whole thing, like, when you're dating someone who is, if you were dating a guy, then you're straight all of a sudden. Like,
yeah.
Stop.
Like, that's not how that works, because, you know, most relationships don't last forever, so even if I'm, like, with somebody, you know, when it ends, like, I can still date whoever, and, like, I will still have feelings for, you know, whatever gender, like, it doesn't matter. Like, so if, let's say, like, one day I settle down and get married to a woman, that doesn't mean I'm a lesbian. I'm still bisexual, because, like, I would still have feelings for men, and like if that relationship ended, I could, you know, go on to be with another man, and then, you know, being with that man wouldn't make me straight after that, you know, like it just doesn't work that way. Like settling down with a person who is whatever gender is very much a bisexual thing to do. Like,
yeah.
I think the issue with it, where that stereotype comes from, is a lot of people do come out as bi initially before they come out as gay,
right?
But I don't think that's because bisexuals are more confused. I just think a lot of people feel like coming out as bi is quote unquote easier, and like don't really, or they're confused and don't quite know their sexuality yet, and therefore like they don't quite want to give up the quote unquote straight side of them, or they're not quite sure. And so for a lot of people that is a transition stage, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people who are bisexual don't know what they're talking about or are less valid.
Right.
Yeah. I think a lot of parents could also hear bisexual. Otis, what are you doing?
So the dog,
he's trying to chime in. He has an opinion. What's your opinion on bisexuality, Otis?
He's just staring. But I think parents might, who are not as supportive, might find comfort in hearing their child say bisexual, because that's so funny. In the future they'll decide.
Yeah, you know, that's so funny to me, because like, yeah, there is that sentiment like, oh well, if you're bi, like if your kid tells you they're bi, then you can be like, oh well, then there's still a chance that they'll get married to the opposite gender and have kids. You don't have to marry the opposite gender to have kids, but whatever, that's a whole different video. But you know, it's funny that's like the thing, because when I was coming out to my parents, like I knew they were fine with gay people, but I'd never heard them talk about bisexuality. So I was like, oh my god, are they gonna think I'm a freak? Like, I don't know if they're gonna be okay with this. So like I had the opposite kind of thing. So it was very scary. And luckily, you know, they didn't care at all. They're like, you know, whatever. But it's just always like a funny thing for me, because I did such opposite of what it normally is.
So do you have anything to add for those watching? Listening.
I think we covered, you know, a lot of the main points. Of course, you know, we're not going to hit everything in a 20-something minute video. So of course there's more to be said. There's more depth to all of it. And, you know, there are of course other bisexual people who are probably going to say things different from what I said. And, you know, that's fine. Like, I'm not the spokesperson for the bis. And I'm sure there are things I've forgotten and things like that. So this isn't like a complete, like,
just
accurate source. Yeah, just a discussion between some friends. So, you know, of course there's more to be said, all that. But, you know, bottom line is, bisexuality is real. Don't treat your bi friends like shit. Sorry. You know, we're just out here living life, being people.
Trying to live.
Yeah. So, it's pretty simple.
Yeah. All right, well, if you guys have any additional questions or art suggestions, just comment them down below. Thanks for watching. Bye!
Bye!